Hello, everyone. Hope everyone had a great weekend and is, having the best Monday possible. Welcome to another episode of Narad News. Today, we bring you again some local Canadian news, something that we as Canadians can be proud of. So, let's get right into it. I always feel that amidst all the negative news that's making our rounds, with the oil prices going up, with the gas prices going up, with another war to constantly, you know, try and grab our attentions, we can always find something positive to look to, something where all Canadians can come together and celebrate a small moment. Maybe not small moment, but I guess a pretty big one, depending on how we look at it. But yeah, so New Flyer Incorporated, NFI, they have unveiled a Winnipeg facility. So this is where the New Flyer Group is headquartered. They have unveiled a new facility for all Canadian-built electric transit buses. So the project, actually the facility they just inaugurated is called True North, and the claim here is former NFI CEO who stepped down in January is saying it's no longer a project name; it's an actual operating facility. So the way this company was operating for the past 15 years is they would assemble shells, the bus shell in Winnipeg, then send it to the US, fit everything else in it, and then get them back to Canada. Now, this company has an assembling plant in the US and now a fully operational assembling plant in Canada. So basically, obviously, the Canadian demand is a lot lower than the US demand. And of course, needless to say, they have a presence in the US as well. Basically, they would basically do most of the assembly in the US and the bus would come back in the free trade era. Now in the tariffs era, basically they have to in order to in order for something to qualify as made in the US, 70% of the whole assembly and parts have to be from the US. So basically sell they can still create the shell in Canada. The problem is when they fit it with everything else, the seats, the engines, everything, and then it comes back to Canada, there's a tariff on it on the Canadian side, because then it becomes a US product. So now NFI is basically segregating its Canadian operations from the US operations. So all the buses bound for the Canadian market will be completely assembled in the Winnipeg facilities, whereas the US buses will continue to receive shells from Canada, the US assembly plant, and over there all the other knickknacks will be put together. So this is a great step in the right direction, in my opinion, for Canadian manufacturing. It shows that even though for some time Canada has not been an active manufacturer, that talent exists and it can be put to good use. So this project kicked off in 2024. Today it's a reality. It just shows that even though, and by the claims of this article, right, for the past 15 years, no bus by this company was actually fully assembled in Canada. And now suddenly they were able to pivot, I guess, in about 18 months to, having something completely built in Canada. Now, the one thing that this article does flag is that there is no engine manufacturer in Canada right now. So I guess they're getting it from somewhere else, most likely the US. And then, of course, there's probably a duty on it, a tariff on it. Again, I'm not sure if these engines would be protected under CUSMA. And then we'll find out all this, I guess, towards the middle of the year. And this would be probably one of the hottest topics in the Canadian discourse when the customer negotiations start. But basically, I think one thing is certain, that there is talent within the country for all the nonsense that happened during the last decade. We still have we still have the capabilities, we still have the chutzpah to be able to pull something like this off. In the grand scheme of things, is this a very huge achievement? Maybe if this headline was more around, oh, Canada has its own nuclear power plant, probably Canada doesn't need one because our hydropower is enough. But I guess from a headline perspective, there are cooler things to talk about when it comes to manufacturing. Maybe a Canadian company comes out with a dancing robot that can compete with Teslas. But I would also say that given where we started off last year after the federal elections, we are seeing strides in the right direction, and this is one of the many. This is not just a success story for Manitoba, this is a success story for the rest of the country. Now, this facility is going to be producing New Flyer's Excelsior hybrid electric buses. So Excelsior is Xcelsior for anyone who's listening. They are basically being designed, engineered, and built in this facility. This has created 250 jobs in the greater Winnipeg area, which 250 may not seem like a huge number, especially, for the Canadians who are living in the bigger urban areas. But think about it, the whole population of Manitoba is like 1 million. And Winnipeg is, of course, the largest city and the largest urban area. And there you have a company that is producing core manufacturing related jobs. That's actually something to be very happy about. And this is now presenting a model for all the other provinces, how they can set up their manufacturing facilities so that, the jobs that have been lost due to this tariff regime, where you had Canadian assembly plants supplying to the US, that they can be revived. It also shows that having an assembly plant in Canada can actually be profitable, right? Now, they have mentioned that, okay, I think they're coming out with 20 new bus shells every month. Let me take a quick look, guys. Yeah. So as of right now, New Flyer is building about 20 transit bus shells every week, sorry, not month, with 5 being finished for Canadian destinations and 15 going to the US. So the bus shells, they have, of course, there's a 1:4 ratio. So 1:3 ratio. So no denying that the US is a much larger market, but of course, Canadian market has a demand, and that can be fulfilled within Canada by a manufacturing plant made in Canada. So I think this is a good model for other companies to try and emulate. Now, if a company in Winnipeg could think of this, the demand for buses in the bigger metropolitan areas, of course, goes without saying, Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, Calgary, Ottawa, all these areas will have a much higher demand. Maybe because of the dynamics of the Canadian market and just the sheer size of the market, maybe there's not much room for too much competition. But at least we can see 2-3 players, thriving well in this market. Now, to be clear, Excelsior, this is a hybrid bus that they are putting together in this manufacturing facility. So, for a market like Vancouver, this actually works out really well because we already have a hybrid bus system, a thriving hybrid bus system in the city. Right? So if any of you have been to Vancouver before, you will see that some buses, especially in the downtown area and then sort of other parts of the main city of Vancouver, you will see that they have pantographs that actually hook up to the wires, and then the buses use that for electrical power. And as soon as they have to enter a region where the cables are not laid out, they actually just pull them down, and then they can be operated on diesel, right? So hybrid markets, I think in GTA there is in Greater Toronto area there is literally no pantograph support. Maybe I know the streetcar uses pantograph power or electrical power from overhead cables. I just don't know if the buses do that. I think I've only seen that in Vancouver. Of course, I've seen that in Seattle, but we're focusing on Canada for now. Not sure if Montreal has that either. I went there a long time ago, so I don't have a basis anymore. I don't think my basis would be too relevant today. I was in Montreal in 2017, so it's been a while. Of course, I don't think I've seen in Ottawa as well. But anyway, if a hybrid bus model is possible, I don't think it'll be too far of a leap to, just sort of get rid of the electrical system and just, put in a bigger fuel tank. And there you go, it'll work. Again, I've never been to Calgary, so can't speak for Calgary or Edmonton for that matter. But yeah, please put it in the comments below, guys, if any of these cities have the demand for a hybrid bus. Of course, today, so New Flyer is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. The price climbed by I think 2%. Oh no, like 5.4% today. And if we see, this news came out on March 3rd. So this is a little old. We are about 2 weeks out. But yeah, it's been climbing since then. And of course, around March 12th, it just shot up. I think that's when the news sort of became viral. It would be worth it to, check out the financials of the company, see if this can be a good Canadian investment. For anyone who might be thinking of getting into this company, I could tell you that we are very close to the all-time low for this company. So I think the all-time low over the past 10 years has been about $7. We are sitting at about $17.85. So, and this stock has touched as high as 60 or 60.6 or so. And not even that late. It's like 2018. I'm not a financial advisor, guys, but someday I'll discuss what all I've done in that space. But yeah, definitely looks to be something worth exploring. Since I'm on this topic, let me just show you guys. Let me see if it'll pop up. Or maybe I can just NFI. My bad, guys, my bad. NFI Group, Inc. So there's something to point out. Let me show you guys this. Okay. So we go here, right? This is the NFI chart, and I've just let me just put it to 5 years, right? Now, again, I'm not giving out any financial advice, but I just want to point out that even though there is positive news about the company, from an investment perspective, we will have to, look into and, dissect the financials a bit. I think there is, of course, excitement. So typically seeing a stock jump 5.5% in a day means that there's some news hitting the market. Most likely in conjunction to this assembly plant going live, maybe there are some orders or something along those lines that we may have to just read the financial statements to get a good idea about. But it does look like the EPS is actually negative. So maybe the company has had a few bad quarters, and that's why we are in negative P/E territory, which is typically not a good sign. But seeing that this company, I'll go back to the article. I'll just put the headline up because that's what I wanted to keep highlighted for the day. So in this story, it basically says they were able to source $50 million in government funding to actually make this plant a reality, right? So needless to say, there is a huge push from the government to try and bring back manufacturing. And this is what ties me back to my point earlier, that this is one of the many positive things that we have seen over the past 1 year or so. At least directionally, the country is going in a correct is going on a correct path, I would say. Is everything a bed of roses? Far from it. But at least we are seeing things happen which suggest that there will be recovery over the 5-year period, right? I can't say that in the next 6 months everything will be hunky-dory. I don't think so, especially when it comes to oil prices. There's another live that I did on this, so please go check that out. But yeah, oil prices are not going anywhere for a while, and especially not down. If they'll go up, in the Vancouver area, we are already seeing $2 to a liter. Someone might come in the chat and say, no, it was 199.9. Well, that's $2. I think I already saw 201, so we've already kind of breached that level again. In that context as well, having a hybrid bus helps. I mean, in most Canadian cities, we do use public transport, and it's unlike the US where everyone uses their car typically to travel. In Canada or in most Canadian cities, public transport is used by everyone. It's pretty safe, and it's used by, to put it mildly, it's used by all people of all economic strata, right? So it's a public transport is an integral part of my life as well, and especially because it's convenient. Like, you don't have to worry about driving, and especially with the Vancouver traffic, I mean, it sucks. That's all I can say. And I can only imagine what the Torontonians go through every day on the 401 and Gardner Expressway and Don Valley Parkway, all those extremely packed highways, and it's just like a crawl going into the city in the morning and then away from the city in the evenings. I lived there for a year and a half, and it was just, oh. Anyways, guys, if anything else comes out with respect to this news, we'll surely cover it. I do want to point out that this does open up a huge opportunity for a Canadian company to start manufacturing engines, right? There are auto companies who have factories in Canada who were, used to sending engines across the border. Now, a bus engine, yes, is slightly different from a car engine, but I think at the end of the day, it's a reciprocating engine. So it's not the most complicated science to go from a car engine to a bus engine, right? Let me just do a quick search. Yeah, so it looks like most passenger buses use a four-stroke diesel engine. For any of you engineering nerds, that's a very typical engine. I, and for the, you know, and for those who are thinking, oh my God, what this is one of the easiest ICs to make. And in a hybrid bus, basically it's a large EV, right? So it looks like there is an opportunity in the Canadian market for an engine manufacturer to show up and actually have a market available. You have a company that is interested in making buses for Canada, in Canada by Canadians. So there we go. I think it's green shoots like these that actually help build up ecosystems, right? Now, according to this article itself, it looks like, at least till now, what was happening is you put together a bus shell, you can't find anything else in Canada, fine, you send it to the US, you fit it with everything else, and then it comes back into Canada. So now think about this. Just a few things that come to my mind: lighting, electrical cabling associated with that lighting, seats. To make the seat itself, you need a whole material chain, right? You'll have some sort of padding, you'll have plastic, you have poles within the bus to hold it up, and then you're putting buttons on it, stop buttons, and then I don't know, sometimes you have a wire which goes along and you can request your stop. LED screens, dashboards for the bus operator. Just by one bus itself will allow so many companies to just flourish. Of course, they can't all have just one buyer. It can't. That just becomes a horrible monopsony. So as I was saying earlier, there is a huge. Maybe if we have 2-3 bus manufacturers or large vehicle manufacturers, then all the other components in the supply chain of making a bus or in the assembly of a bus, they will also have a healthy market to sell to. So I guess, guys, I'll wrap it up here. This is a piece of positive news that I wanted to share with everyone. We will see you guys on Thursday. Do like, share, and subscribe. Do let us know what you like. Do let us know what you don't like. And do let us know if there is a topic that you would like us to discuss. Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of the Monday, or just rest of the next couple of days. See you guys on Thursday again. We are going to be very disciplined about appearances now. I think I may do an ad hoc one tomorrow, but that's going to be for a very non-English speaking audience. I just want to review the trailer of a very popular movie. So, all right, guys. See ya. Take care. See you guys on Thursday for regularly scheduled programming. Ciao, ciao.